Everyone loves Sliver decks, and given how well Unclaimed Territory is done in our Spirit and Human decks, I figure why not just make a Sliver deck as well? So that's what we're doing today, and if you notice, it's quite a bit different than the typical Sliver deck that's out there, and that's mainly because both Mana Weft and Gemhide Slivers are absent from the deck, which are used for mana fixing. So the version of Slivers that we have here is a bit more aggressive and to the point compared to a normal Sliver deck, with a lot of extra 1-drop and 2-drop Slivers that wouldn't necessarily be there in a typical Sliver deck. So let's start going through them. First up, we have Sidewinder Sliver. It's not the best Sliver out there, but it is useful when your opponent has a lot of blockers to block your creatures, so it's kind of cool to have. And on the upside, flanking actually stacks. So for example, if you had 3 Sidewinder Slivers out in the field, all of your opponent's blockers would get -3/-3 until end of turn. Next up, we have Gale Rider Sliver. This Sliver is found in pretty much all Sliver decks. It's really good because it gives all your creatures flying, and it's not bad for a card that costs 1. Next is Striking Sliver. Striking Sliver gives all your creatures first strike. There's typically 2 or 3 copies in a normal Sliver deck, but since we are trying to be more aggressive, I put 4 in the deck, and yeah. And like all Sliver decks, we have 4 Sinew Slivers and also 4 Predatory Slivers. But probably some of the most unusual cards in the deck are Frenzy Sliver and Leeching Sliver, which almost are never found in Sliver decks. Each of these Slivers essentially gives your creatures +1/+0 in like the most getaway possible. For Leeching Sliver, that means when your creatures attack, your opponent loses 1 life, which is pretty good considering we have so many 1-drops in our deck. As for Frenzy Sliver, the +1/+0 only happens when your opponent doesn't block, which happens quite a bit because your opponent doesn't really want to block your big Slivers. And just like flanking in the Sidewinder Sliver, this Sliver's ability also stacks, so if you have multiple Frenzy Slivers out, each instance of Frenzy works independently. Next up, we have Diffusion Sliver. Diffusion Sliver is really useful to have right now because there's so many Fatal Pushes and Lightning Bolts and Path to Exiles out there, so pretty essential card in all Sliver decks. There's also 1 Darkheart Sliver, which works well against board wipe and just against aggressive decks in general. And probably the most important card to talk about here is Sedge Sliver, which can pump your creatures, but only if you control a swamp. And that's what made this deck challenging because we have 4 Unclaimed Territories in the deck, in addition to 4 Sliver Highs, 4 Cavernous Souls, and 1 Ancient Ziggurat. So it is a bit tough to run a 5-color Sliver deck with Sedge Sliver in it, but with its regeneration ability, it's arguably the best Sliver out there, so you gotta use it. Plus, typical Sliver decks also have this problem because although we put in the 4 Unclaimed Territories, we did so in lieu of 4 Mutavaults. So in the end, we essentially have the same number of swamps as a normal Sliver deck. But moving on to sideboard, we got 2 Fatal Pushes against creature decks, 2 Siphon Slivers against burn because they'll be dealing a lot of damage to us and we need to have that lifelink, 2 Necrotic Slivers, which some Sliver decks actually mainboard because it does provide a lot of answers to decks like Tron and Snaring Bridge and stuff like that. We also have Frenetic Sliver, which is probably my favorite Sliver card in the sideboard because it allows you to flip a coin, and if you win the flip, it gets to be exiled till end of turn, so it's a good way to avoid removal. And it's basically like Hexproof, but 50/50 Hexproof, where if you lose the flip, you have to sacrifice it, so it's kind of like a trade-off, but it's like a fun way to do the trade-off. Next, there's 3 Harmonic Slivers, which works well against artifacts and enchantments. And then we got our graveyard hate cards like Grafdigger's Cage and Relic of Progenitus, and that about wraps up the deck. So let's get to the gameplay, but first, if you want to see more content like this, you can let me know by subscribing and letting me know in the comments what you want to see next, because the primary reason why we're doing Slivers right now is because in the comment section of the last video, everyone was like, make a Sliver deck, and there's so many people asking for it, it was like, okay, good idea. But without further ado, let's get to the gameplay, and I hope you enjoy it. Opening hand could be better, but we'll keep Affinity. Not sure we'll be able to outspeed him, but we'll give it a shot. Steal Overseer, and opponent swings for 1. All right, we'll drop in the Predatory Sliver and swing in for 2. Opponent takes 2 back to them. Yeah, all right, this is fast. Pull a Sedge Sliver. We don't have any swamps, so we'll drop in these 2 hoes and swing for 6. Opponent goes to 13, but that lifelink though is pretty good. Not sure why our opponent didn't attack with this. So we take 5 in the air. They go back to 16. Ooh, and a Gale Rider Sliver. That might actually save us. So swing in for 12. Yeah. All right. Opponent goes to 4, pass back. Signal Pest. And our opponent passes back to us. What? Maybe we're in a better position than I thought. I mean, our lands kind of suck for this guy, but can our opponent even survive this turn? I guess we'll just attack with everything. Opponent makes this guy into a creature. Let's see what our opponent can do. Opponent blocks like this, but the flanking kicks in, and it's double flanking. Yeah, maybe he didn't know that flanking stacks, because flanking does stack. So none of our guys die, and our opponent concedes. Wow, I was not sure we were going to win that one, but man, what a close one. So pretty cool. On to the next one. Going into game 2, I'm going to get rid of 4 Frenzy Slivers, 1 Leeching Sliver, and put in 2 Fatal Pushes and 3 Harmonic Slivers. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand seems alright, although we don't have any of the sideboard cards. Yeah, I guess we'll keep it and hope for the best. And there goes our opponent's hand. Oh boy. Opponent dumps 6 cards on turn 1. Well, we can't play 6 things this turn, but we can drop in this guy and pass the turn back. That's champion. And opponent swings in for 3. Alright. We do hit a Fatal Push. Probably should kill the Steel Overseer. That'd be a good move. So we'll do that now. Okay, then drop in the Gale Rider Sliver and pass the turn back. Thought cast. And opponent swings for 6. Sure, no blocks. Another Springleaf Drum and Springleaf Drum. Alright. My opponent's hand isn't really that great. I mean, he only has these guys out, so you'd think we'd have a shot at winning this, but I don't know still. Probably should drop the Predatory Sliver this turn just to build up some defense. And might as well drop an Ether Vial as well. And pass back to our opponent. Opponent swings swings for 3, but can't be blocked, so take 3. And a Vault Scourge. Sidewinder Sliver. So to be safe, we'll drop in the Darkheart Sliver and pass back to our opponent. Opponent swings for 3, no blocks. We go to 3. Violent and the Sidewinder. Oh boy, what to do? I mean, do we start attacking with things? We're basically sacrificing at least one Sliver turn because of this guy. So yeah, we gotta put some pressure on him. Or might as well swing with everything except for this guy. Then we can Violent this guy as a blocker. So attack for an ass load. 5 damage from this thing. Opponent makes Blink with Nexus into a creature and blocks like that. Okay, before damage is dealt, we'll Violent the Predatory Sliver. So opponent goes down to 3. Actually, we might get this one. Yeah, because we can sacrifice some guys and survive. So yeah, we're looking pretty good now. Opponent swings for 3, no blocks. But before damage is dealt, we'll sacrifice a guy. I guess the flanking guy we can get rid of. So we gain 3 from that. And we get the match. Wow, I didn't think we were going to get that one. Oh, or either of them. But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, Slivers, when you build around the 1 and 2 drops, I mean, it's really fast. That's pretty crazy. All right, well, off to a good start. So we'll see how the rest of them go. Opening hand, 4 lands, all 1 drops. We're going to mull. Pretty similar hand, but I think we can keep Scry. Hopefully we hit something good on the top. This thing. No, bottom that. Start off with this Striking Sliver and pass turn back to our opponent. Oh, is this Death Shadow or Living End? Probably Death Shadow. What? Opponent goes to end step? Oh, he doesn't have any lands. What? Oh, what? This is like a discarding thing. Well, even though he doesn't have any lands, we gotta still be pretty careful here. Play the Predatory Sliver and swing in for 2. Oh boy, still no lands for our opponent. That sucks. Unless he's doing it on purpose because he dropped in Bloodghast to the graveyard. All right, well, you could drop the Sedge Sliver this turn, but I think the better move is drop both of these guys. That way we can swing with more next turn. And by swinging with both of these guys, we trigger this, so it'll take 6 in total this turn. So opponent goes down to 8. They still have no lands. Will they play a land this turn or will they concede? There's a concede. Wow, that kind of sucks that they concede without hitting a single land. Ugh. All right, well, on to game 2, but what is his deck? I'm guessing it's like black-red discarding stuff, it seems like. I mean, who really knows, right? It could be like John with like Vengevine or something. But anyway, on to game 2. Going to game 2, I'm gonna get rid of 1 Frenzy Sliver, 4 Leeching Slivers, 1 Sidewinder Sliver, and put in 1 Grafdigger's Cage. 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Relics of Progenitus, and 2 Siphon Slivers. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand, Grafdiggers and Relic of Progenitus. I mean, that's pretty good. So we will keep Flame Blade Adept. So it looks like it is black-red discarding stuff. So for our turn 1, I think Grafdigger's Cage is the safest option, so we'll do that. So that way we don't have to worry about like Bloodghast and stuff. So back to our opponent. Another one. Take 1. Frenzy Sliver. We'll start things off with a Sinew Sliver and pass back to our opponent. Burning Inquiry. It's a lot of triggering. Man, that's crazy. We're taking 8 this turn. Yeah, I can't block the Menace. And a Hollow one. Well, shit. Cavern of Souls. Man, oh man. Guess we'll drop in Sedge Sliver. I mean, there's not really that many good options for us here. At least not until next turn, but will we have to block before then? Well, pass back to our opponent. Maybe we'll double block one of these guys instead of blocking the Hollow one. Faithless Looting. So now those things are 3. Oh boy. Oh, that's 16 damage there. Or could double block the Hollow one or single block it. Double block one of these guys, go to 1. Wait, no, we can't block the Hollow one and survive, so we gotta double block one of these guys and go to 1, which kind of blows. Is there even a way we can get out of this one? Actually, no, we can't get out of this one because we have to double block this, which means this gets through, or single block this and this still gets through. So we lose either way, unfortunately. So we're going to game 3. Going to game 3, the only change I'm gonna make, I'm gonna get rid of 2 Frenzy Slivers, put in 2 Fatal Pushes because those adept cards are really annoying to deal with. So that should help. And with that, let's go to game 3. Opening hand, no sideboard cards, but our hand's pretty good, so I guess we'll keep it. Opponent mulls to 5. We'll drop the Gale Rider Sliver and pass back to our opponent. Faithless Looting, and opponent throws a Bloodghast in the graveyard. Back on our turn, we'll throw out this Sinew Sliver, swing for 2, and hope our opponent doesn't have anything too good in hand. Another Faithless Looting. Bloodghast comes back. We got rid of a Hollow one. That doesn't seem right. Well, there's another one. So let's just see who can outspeed the other. Put out Predatory Sliver and a Striking Sliver, and swing for 6 in the air. We actually win next turn if our opponent doesn't beat us now, so I think we can get this. Maybe, possibly. Cathartic Reunion. And our opponent concedes. Wow. It always feels like we're kind of losing with this deck because it's like just like a bunch of creatures out there, but it's still pretty fast. First 2 matches done. Let's go to the next ones. Opening hand, 1 land hand, but we do have an Ether Vial, so we will keep. Oh, what? Is it black-red Goblins? That's pretty sweet if it is. So on our turn, we'll play Ether Vial, pass back. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this deck is. Mogwar Marshal. I wonder if it's just like regular red Goblins with like black splashing for like Fatal Push maybe. There are a few black Goblin cards, but nothing too crazy. So let's see. What do we do? Sidewinder Sliver, and then we can Vial in the Gale Rider on our opponent's turn. That sounds about right. So back to our opponent. Will we see Goblin Chieftain come out because he revealed it? Yep. If only we had the first strike sliver, the Striking Sliver. Oh well. Take 6. And before the turn ends, we'll Vial in the Gale Rider. Back on our turn, really could use a second land here. Yep, second land. Cool. So best thing here, could drop the Fusion Sliver, but Predatory Slivers might be the better options. Probably are the better options. So we'll go with that. Swing for 6. And even though our opponent has a head start on us, we actually have a good shot at dealing a lot next turn just because we can drop both both of these guys in. So opponent goes to 14, pass back. And what is this? Goblin Heel Cutter. So target creature won't be able to block this turn, but what will he swings with everything? No. Yeah, wait, what? Okay, so that can't block, but we can block one of these little turds, right? What could he have? I think, is it worth block? Yeah, it'd be at 6 if we don't block. I mean, let's see. Let me think here. What to do? Do we block it? Yeah, I guess we'll block. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Well, the Predatory Sliver survives. Good. Bloodstained Mire. So the best thing to do here, drop in Leeching Sliver and a Frenzy Sliver and swing with everything. So opponent takes 4 from just attacking and our opponent concedes. All right, on to sideboarding. Going into game 2, I'm gonna get rid of 2 Leeching Slivers, 2 Frenzy Slivers, put in 2 Fatal Pushes and 2 Siphon Slivers for lifelink. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand, it seems all right, but it's not great. Don't have any swamps for this guy. This guy doesn't help that much. I guess we'll keep it and hope for the best. Opponent pass back to us, which means they probably have Lightning Bolt. Might as well get it over with. Striking Sliver, wait for the bolt. No Lightning Bolt? What? Oh, hey, they have an Unclaimed Territory as well. Cool. Mog War Marshal, pull Water Grave. It's actually pretty good for the Sedge Slivers. Now the question is, do we drop in Diffusion Sliver or Predatory Sliver? I mean, if they had removal, wouldn't they have used it on this guy already? Because that's pretty good. I mean, First Strike's pretty good against him. So maybe Diffusion Sliver would be the better option. Yeah, it's a little bit slower, but I think it's safer in the long run. So we'll do that. Pass the turn back. No attacks from our opponent, and they pass back to us. They still might have removal. I mean, 3 lands and taps a bit suspicious. 5 cards in hand. Probably has a Lightning Bolt. But we'll go ahead, drop a Sedge Sliver, and pass back to our opponent because they don't want to risk them having removal and then have them double blocking one of our creatures. So back to our opponent. And to Dismember. Sure. And they take 4 from that. So not such a terrible trade for us. And the Diffusion Sliver is still there, which means he probably doesn't have that much removal in hand, or maybe none at all. Finally, a Black Goblin. But with the First Strike guy out, he really can't attack because the guys are just too weak. So yeah. Now it could drop in the Sedge followed by the Glade Rider or both of these. Well, I don't really want him chump blocking, so I think the Sedge followed by Gale Rider is the better move here. So that happens. And swing for 4 in the air. Opponent's down to 12. Pass back. Opponent keeps the War Marshal. And we win the match. Oh, okay. I mean, that match could have been more competitive, but red black zombies is pretty cool, even if it isn't the best deck out there. So I don't know. So yeah, 3-0 and on to the 4th one. Opening hand, 3 lands, but the curve seems alright, so I guess we'll keep. Start off with Gale Rider Sliver and pass back. Misty Rainforest. Hopefully they're control because we have Cavernous Souls here. Drop Cavern just in case they have Spell Snare. Then play Predatory Sliver and swing in for 2. And a Hollowed Fountain. So it looks like it is control. Good thing we have this. Chief Engineer. Ooh, something this is blue steel with white in it. That's pretty cool. So we'll drop in a Sinew Sliver and swing for 6. Opponent goes 11, pass back. Grand Architect and drops a Smuggler's Copter. Cool. Pull an Ether Vial. Now we could block one of our guys with this, but it's not that bad of a trade. So we'll throw down Leeching Sliver and swing in for 9. Opponent takes 3 from Leeching Sliver. So basically our opponent has to block here. Yep, blocks the Sinew Sliver. So opponent will go to 2. We'll play an Ether Vial and pass back. What can our opponent do to get out of this one? Opponent fetches and plays something. Oh, and plays a Walking Ballista. Ouch. So if he does 2 to this guy and 1 to each, he can board wipe us. Yep. Bye-bye, Slivers. Man, oh man. Okay, safest option, play Predatory Sliver in case he's on a Ballista, maybe? And keep this till next turn. Yeah. All right, back to our opponent. Opponent plays a Golem. Swing for 2, no blocks. Unclaimed Territory. I mean, I think he's got to go for it. We'll drop in the Leeching Sliver. And oh dang, for a second I thought he had like Path to Exile, but then I remembered this thing's out, so no Path to Exile, which means I think we got it. We swing that triggers, he dies? Yeah, all right, cool. On to game 2. Going into game 2, I'm gonna get 1 Diffusion Sliver and 4 Frenzy Sliver to put in 3 Harmonic Slivers for artifacts and 2 Fatal Pushes. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand's a bit land heavy, but we do have an Ether Vial, so we'll keep. And just hope we don't draw any more lands. Mausoleum Wanderer and a Fatal Push. Okay, Ether Vial, pass back. Ethereum Sculptor. And we take 1 from the Mausoleum Wanderer back to us. Ancient Ziggurat. I think we might be able to get him if we drop in Predatory Sliver and then Vial in the Gale Rider to block the Mausoleum Wanderer. That just might work. We'll give it a go. Grand Architect. So much for blocking this guy. 6 mana. Does he have a Worm Coil Engine? Okay. That's gonna be tough. Pull a Sedge Sliver, but we don't have any swamps, unfortunately. Play it anyway. And swing for 4 in the air, even though we're going to take 6 here, and he has lifelink. Alright. Not looking good for us. Another Grand Architect. And a second one. Okay. Opponent swings in for 9. Take 9. They go to 22. See if we can pull off the top here. Nope. Going to game 3. If only we had the Harmonic Slivers last game. Too bad. But no change to sideboard going into game 3, and we'll just hope for the best. Oh boy. Opening hand. Harmonic Sliver, but 1 land. I don't think we can risk that. We're gonna mull. 1 land again, but we have an Ether Vial, so let's keep it. Not a land, so bottom that. opponent. Start with Ether Vial and pass back to our opponent. Another Striking Sliver. So start off with one of those, and we'll Vial in a Sidewinder on our opponent's turn. Opponent plays Chief Engineer, and we'll Vial in the Sidewinder. No land. Suppose we'll swing in, Vial in this. Yeah. Will our opponent block? Yes, please. Yes. Go for it. He's thinking, aw, no blocks from opponent. Shit. Well, Violin anyway. Opponent takes 4, drop in the Striking Sliver, and pass back to our opponent. Grand Architect. And opponent passes back to us. Another Sedge Sliver. So Violin, Leeching Sliver. And our creatures are safe because of flanking, so we'll swing with everyone. They'll take 4 just from the Leeching Sliver. That's pretty good. Opponent chumps there, but our Sliver survives, so pass back to our opponent. As long as he doesn't have lifelink, we're good. So please, no Wormcoil Engine. Ooh, an opponent fetches down the 4, so even if he has Wormcoil Engine, we can swing in and it'll take 4 from Leeching. Come on. So close. The Grand Architect and nothing from opponent. Do we get it? And should we put Ether Vial on 3? That's a really tough call because we have the Sedge Sliver. So if we pull a Swamp, we want this on 3. But we have mostly 2 drops in our deck, so we kind of need this on 2. Hang on, I gotta calculate this. So there are 7 lands in our deck that can produce Swamp. So 7 cards that you can get here. But there are 19 2 drops in our deck that we can pull as well. So I think it's safer to keep Ether Vial on 2. Yeah, we'll keep it on 2. The power of math. And we pull an Ether Vial, so it doesn't matter. But swinging with everything and just the attack itself will kill him. Or at least I hope so. What's going on? Is he gonna kill us? No! Oh no! We should have gone to 3. Arg. The power of math has failed me. But in my defense, this deck usually doesn't run Path to Exile. But actually, in against my defense, they don't usually run white either. So I guess it kind of makes sense. So no attacks, dropping the Ether Vial, and should have put this on 3. I mean, didn't really consider that he had Path to Exile. I should have thought about that. Mausoleum Wanderer. Ethereum Sculptor. Well, at least no Wormcoil Engine. And pull a land. Cool. So I think by dropping a Sedge Sliver here, we can Vial a second one in. Even without regeneration, I think that'll make him block unfavorably. And then, yeah, if we don't win this turn, we can win next turn. So attack like that. See what the blocks are, and then Vial this in. And opponent blocks like that, but this guy goes through. So that means once Sedge Sliver comes out, go ahead and Vial it in. And that should do it. Yes? Yeah, and there's the match. Cool. 4-0 so far. That's pretty cool. So we'll see how the 5th one goes. We might go 5-0 with this deck, so that's pretty cool. And we'll have to see what happens. Match 5. Will this hand take us to victory? Maybe. We'll keep. Striking Sliver past our opponent. And blue-red is a Storm? Yeah, probably. This actually will probably be a really tough match for us, just because we can't really interact with them and interfere with what they're doing. Sidewinder Sliver. But let's drop in the Sinew Sliver and swing in for 2. I'm kind of hoping that they're blue-red Breach instead of Storm, because I feel like we have a bet. Never mind, there's Storm. There's so many Storm decks out there. Diffusion Sliver, nah, I don't really need to use that. I think I just gotta rush them. So we'll drop Predatory Sliver, Sidewinder, and swing in for 6. Opponent goes 8, pass back. We'll have a better chance of winning after game 1 because we do have 2 Graph Diggers and 2 Relic Progenitus. Is your opponent going off now? I think we might actually win next turn if they don't finish us here. We're close to it. Gifts Ungiven, cool. As long as we can get to next turn, we can probably get there. Yeah, we'll definitely get there. We just gotta survive this turn, which may or may not happen. Ooh. So what does this say about what's in his hand? He has to have Past in Flames in hand, right? I don't want him having Empty the Warrens, really. Although it's not the end of the world if he plays it. Would he better get rid of the Rituals? Could do Manamorphose followed by Empty the Warrens. I mean, I think let's get rid of the Rituals. Let him keep the Empty the Warrens. Opponent uses Manamorphose and has a Desperate Ritual in hand anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we pick there. And a Past in Flames as well. Well, let's just sit back and I'll let you know if we're dead. And I think we're dead. Yeah, because they got Past in Flames and Grape Shot. Yeah, we die. So on to game 2. Going into game 2, I'm going to get rid of 4 Diffusion Slivers, 1 Dark Heart Sliver, and 1 Frenzy Sliver to put in 2 Fatal Pushes, 2 Graph Digger's Cage, and 2 Relic Progenitus. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand, 1 land hand. It's a bad land to have, but we have a Relic. So I guess we'll keep it. Back to our opponent. We just got to pull some lands, then our hand's actually pretty good. So if we can pull like a Cavern of Souls or an Unclaimed Territory, we're in good shape. No land yet. Pass back. Paralytic Ritual. And a Blood Moon. We'll pass back. Desperate Ritual. Desperate Ritual again. And Empty the Warrens. 6 creatures. My god. Graph Digger's Cage. And pass back to our opponent. We take 6. Miraculously, we still pull no land, so Relic we'll draw a card. Okay, there's the land. Pass back to our opponent. We take 6 again. And now I pull land. Drop Sedge Sliver, but I think it's too little too late. They have 6 guys out. Opponent swings for 6, block 1 of them, go to 3. So even if we drop a guy, we still take 3. Okay, we lose. Man, what a shitty way to end it, though. We're doing so well. Maybe he'll forget to attack. All right, we'll pass back. Darn. Oh, too bad. I guess 4-1's okay. But I don't want to end it on that, though. That was such a shitty thing to end on. So we'll play some more matches just to see the rest of the decks. I feel like there's some parts of the deck we haven't seen yet. So we'll do a few more and see how those go. Opening hand looks pretty good, minus the Ether Vial, so we'll start off with Gale Rider Sliver and pass back to our opponent. Back on our turn, drop a Predatory Sliver, and it looks like he's Infect, so we gotta move really quickly here. Swing in for 2, opponent's 18, back to them. Another Hierarch, and swings in for 1. Okay. What kind of Infect deck is this? Because it has to be Infect, right? I mean, like blue-green, like, I don't know. Might as well drop in another Predatory Sliver. Swing in for 6, back to our opponent. Opponent swings in again. Do we want to block? Not really, no. See, I knew it was Infect. Ah, so clever. Except that only Infect plays this card, and that's pretty much only an Infect right now, but yeah, okay, great. Our opponent concedes. All right. Looks like they got a pretty unlucky hand, the fact that they got this out so late. So on to game 2. Going into game 2, I'm going to get rid of 4 Diffusion Slivers to put in 2 Necrotic Slivers and 2 Fatal Pushes, and with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hands, not too bad, but is it good enough to outspeed Infect on the draw? Probably not, so I'm going to mull, and this looks a lot better, so we'll keep. Probably bottom that. Noble Hierarch to start off with, and we will start off with Gale Rider Sliver. Back to our opponent, another Noble Hierarch, and no attacks from our opponent. That's a little suspicious. So let's see, do we do Leeching Sliver? Could just block with that, though. I guess that's kind of a good trade, unless he has Mutagenic Growth. He probably has Mutagenic Growth, and so could block there. Maybe, I don't know, that's probably a waste of Mutagenic Growth, though. Maybe it's just not worth attacking. We'll just drop in the Leeching Sliver and just pass the turn back. If we can get this guy out, we can start picking off his permanence, and that should do it if we have enough of this going on. But probably won't get to that because it's really slow to do this, and his deck is really fast. Makes this into a creature. Opponent swings, and they could hit us for a lot here, almost enough to kill us. He still has 2 mana here. Do we want to block it, though? I think we'll risk it. Let's see if he can finish us. Mutagenic Growth. Can he kill us this turn? Another Mutagenic Growth. And, okay. Okay, he can kill us this turn. Well then, we're going to game 3. No change to sideboard. Opening hand, 1 land hand. We do have Ether Vial, but no removal or anything. We could try it, I guess. We'll keep. I mean, it's not like our deck really has any removal anyway, and we just have 2 Fatal Pushes, and that's kind of it. Drop an Ether Vial and pass back to our opponent. Glistener Elf, another Ether Vial. Drop the Ether Vial, I suppose. We can Vial in one of these guys on our opponent's turn to block. We'll go with that. Might Volt Crosa and Distortion Strike. Well, I guess we're not blocking. Opponent swings for 6. Vial in the Gale Rider Sliver. I mean, it's unblockable next turn, so it's not like we can do a whole lot, and he probably has the win just with this alone with the Distortion Strike coming back. So put into new Sliver, swing in for 2, back to our opponent. Distortion Strike comes down, and will we see Become Immense? Binds the Basswood, same thing, because either way, we lose. Just too fast for us, and we just don't have the removal for it. Oh well. Opening hand, 1 land hand, but we do have an Ether Vial, so we'll keep. So Ether Vial, pass back, and it looks like it's Elves. No second land. Back to our opponent. Opponent swings for 2, no blocks, and opponent drops a Heritage Druid, and at the end turn, we'll Vial in Gale Rider. So swing in, and before damage is dealt, Vial in one of these guys. That one, sure. Opponent goes to 18, pass back. Elvish Archdruid, and a Reclamation Sage. Oh boy. Nothing like a Reclamation Sage main deck. Opponent swings for 3, no blocks. Wow, we just got dealt a really bad hand as far as lands go. Swing for 4? I mean, do we hold back for blocks? Swing for 4. Opponent goes to 14. Is Zuri, and pumps all of his guys, so that is lethal. On to game 2. Going to game 2, I'm going to get rid of 4 Diffusion Slivers, 2 Frenzy Slivers, and put in 2 Siphon Slivers, 2 Fatal Pushes, 2 Grafdigger's Cages, and with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand, 1 land hand, so we'll mull. Not a great hand. We'll keep, so we can get off the top. Kind of need to keep that there for Sedge. Nah, it's a bit risky. Let's bottom that. Back to our opponent. Nettle. Well, another Sedge Sliver. Ooh. So let's play a new Sliver and back to our opponent. Heritage followed by another Nettle. Tapping to play Llanowar Elves, Elvish Archdruid. And what the hell is this shit? Top 4 cards, all Elves card. Okay, sure. So it just keeps coming. Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. You ever get that feeling that you're like not actually playing the game, you're just like watching someone else play? Because sometimes Magic's not the most interactive game. My little Sliver looks so lonely out there. Elvish Archdruid, Zuri, and I think we can still win, don't worry. I mean, swinging for 7 here, but we don't need to block. Damnation? Nope. Well, swing in for 2. Take that. My mama always said I can do anything if I believe, and I believe I can win. Oh look, we're back at 20 life. Oh wait, nope, that's negative 223. I didn't even know the numbers could go that low. Oh man. Well, as far as tribal goes, goes, I guess Elves still has the edge over us despite how decent our deck is. So yeah. Opening hand, a bit too many lands, so we're gonna mull. And slightly better, we'll keep, put this on top. Celestial Colonnade tap. We will go ahead, use Ether Vial, pass back. No place for an opponent, back to us. And with 2 lands on tap, we'll put a Cavern of Souls in case they have counter. Playing Predatory Sliver and pass back to them. What's this? Lightning Helix? Yep, sure. And our opponent's turn, Vial in the Gale Rider. Pull another land. So attempt to swing in. Vial in this guy. Opponent goes to 21, pass back. Back to us. Hit another Sliver. Okay, swing in. Will their opponent have removal? Snapcaster? Yeah. So we'll get back Lightning Helix. Killing the flying guy. Come on, please block that guy. Block. Yes. Okay. Then Vial in the Predatory Sliver. So our Sinew Sliver survives. Cool. And back to our opponent. Visions. And opponent drops Geist. Cool. Pull Urborg. Might as well swing in. Do we swing in? Or maybe we keep one to block. Well, opponent uses Path. So might as well keep this guy to block for him from attacking and just pass back. And an Electrolyze. So much for our creatures. But no attacks from opponent. Oh, because he's afraid we have something. I guess that makes sense. Diffusion Sliver. Okay. Pass back to our opponent. Okay, back on our opponent's turn. They swing in. Sure. So we take 6. End of turn. Might as well Violent Diffusion Sliver. And man, what's going on? We've hit 3 creatures or 4 creatures. I think we're going to game 2. We're too far behind at this point because 2 Celestial Colonnades. Yeah, on to game 2. Going into game 2, I'm going to get rid of 2 Gale Rider Slivers, 1 Sidewinder Sliver, 1 Darkheart Sliver to put in 2 Frenetic Slivers and 2 Grafdigger's Cages to stop Snapcaster. And with that, let's go to game 2. Opening hand, Ether Vial. Frenetic Sliver's pretty good against him for in case he has board wipe. So we'll keep. Start with Ether Vial, pass back. Opponent drops Visions. Sidewinder Sliver, good. So play Frenzy Sliver and pass turn back. Okay, no place from our opponent. Vial in the Sidewinder. And good, another land. So we could put in Sedge Sliver, but I think the safer option for Frenetic Sliver. Will it hit? Yes. And go ahead, Vial in the Frenzy Sliver. Let's see what our opponent's got. Lightning Bolt targeting that, so we'll do the coin flippy thing. So 50-50 chance of it surviving. Pick heads. Shit. So that dies anyways. We'll still swing in with an Ass Load. Or yeah, 6 is an Ass Load now. I guess my standards are getting kind of lower now. But it goes to 11. What's this? Is this going to be like a Blood Moon here? No Blood Moon, but Engine Explosives. Well, once we Violent Sedge Sliver, it should be fine because we could just regenerate. So it looks like we're going to get this one. And opponent uses Lightning Bolt on that. Sure. That's before we can put a counter on Ether Vial. Pull Leeching. We could drop both. So we'll Vial in this thing. I think we should hold off on the Leeching Sliver though. Because we can deal 8 here. If we play this, we can deal 10 to put him at 1. But I think it's more important to have the regeneration thing ready. So we'll swing for 4 times 2, which is 8. Swing in with 8. Opponent goes to 3, pass back. Opponent pass back to us. Ooh, when opponent uses Path to Exile on this, I guess we gotta regenerate. So you lose the Sedge Sliver. Okay, swing in. But if he has Snapcaster Mage, ooh. Well, at least we have regeneration shields on them. But it would tap our creatures, right? But attempt to swing in anyway. Yep, fires it off, so they go back tapped. And we'll just pass back to our opponent. Or not, he conceded. Okay, I guess he didn't have any removal in hand to back it up, I guess. I don't know. So it looks like we're going to game 3. No change to the sideboard. Opening hand, Grafdigger, Frenetic. I think that's pretty good. We'll keep. Start off with a Grafdigger and pass back. Visions and another Visions. Back on our turn, Frenzy Sliver I think would be good. Or Predatory. I guess Predatory is fine. Back to our opponent. Probably dropping this next turn just in case there's like board wipe or entering explosives again. Back on our turn, drop Cavern of Souls, Frenetic Sliver. It hits, swing for 2. And opponent attempts to path that. Well, might as well use the ability. I think the last 2 times we pick heads, we lost. So let's pick heads again. Hey, we won. So it comes back at the end of turn. 3rd time's the charm. Swing for 2. Okay, opponent goes down to 18. And the turn we get Frenetic Sliver back. Okay. No place from our opponent. Well, attempt to cast Sinew Sliver. Cool. And then put in Blood Crypt. Attempt Frenzy Sliver, I suppose. As opposed to another Sinew Sliver because he could counter it. And opponent does counter, attempting to bounce. Yeah, I'll attempt this ability again. Should I pick heads again? Law of averages, right? Should be heads. Yes. No, oh shit. Never mind. Because I was thinking like if we got heads wrong twice and then heads right once, then it shouldn't. Never mind. Swing in for 3. Opponent goes to 14. And an Engineered Explosives. Whoop-de-doo. Alright, pull in the Cavern of Souls. Swing in. Will we use the Engineered Explosives on us? Probably. Yep. Now he's tapped out. Might as well use another Grafdigger. And then Sinew Sliver. And pass turn back. Johnny. So that dies. And a land. Pass back. And it looks like it's going to be a slow crawl to the finish for our opponent. Yeah. So I'm just going to start talking about the deck and what I think about it. I mean, for like a casual deck that's fun, I think is really cool. But compared to some of the tribal decks we've done recently, it just doesn't seem as potent against the meta right now. Like for tribal humans, like it has Kite Sail Freebooter to take non-creature spells, and that's good in the meta right now because there's a lot of Storm out there. And there's the Spirit tribal deck we just made using Unclaimed Territory also. And that had the Hexproof thing going for it, where your opponent would try and kill one of your creatures and you like violence something to give Hexproof or flash in the Rattle Chains to give Hexproof, and that works. But Sliver seems to be lacking that, I guess, interaction with the opponent that you kind of need to win. And it can win, but it just feels like, it kind of feels like it does what Elves does, which is just does its own thing and kind of ignores your opponent. But Elves has the potential to be a lot faster than Slivers and a lot more consistent. So, but I really enjoyed making Slivers because I mean, Slivers is one of those decks that you have to try it at some point, right? Especially if you're into some of the older Magic sets where there are a lot of Slivers in those, like Legions and stuff. I had a lot of Legions cards with Slivers in it, and so of course when you see all the Slivers, you think you got to make a Slivers deck, right? So it's cool to try, but I think right now, even though we did do well in that first league, I think a lot of that was just luck because a lot of the opponents we played didn't have the most competitive decks. Like there's Blue Steel, which is a good deck, but it's a bit inconsistent where when it wins, but when it loses, it doesn't really get there. And so we were able to take out decks like that, but we didn't really see any tier 1 decks in the league. And I just don't think Slivers is really that good at competing with some of the top decks right now. So maybe if the meta changes where there's less removal around, it could stand a chance, but it kind of has the same problem that the Merfolk decks that we use had, which is that like every turn was like Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, Terminate. Like sometimes just killed one of your creatures, and it's hard to win when you have a deck that's built around building up an army of creatures that support each other. So until creature removal drops in the meta, I don't think Slivers is all that viable. And even if we did put in the mana fixers that Slivers decks usually have, I don't really think it'd make too much of a difference. And at that point, I don't even think it'd be worth playing Unclaimed Territory in a deck like that, because if you have Slivers to make 1 mana of any color, then why even have this, right? Because it is a bit tough to have things like swamps in the deck and have cards like this in the deck at the same time, because sometimes you have Sedge Sliver out and you don't have the swamp. Sometimes you have a bunch of multicolored Slivers, but you don't have the multicolored land stuff. Instead, you have the swamp stuff. Oh, I think we just lost. All right, anyways, I mean, it was a cool deck to make. I enjoyed making it and all, but before you go out and spend all your money on this deck, I don't think it's that viable right now. I would hold off. I mean, online it's pretty cheap. If you want to get it online, I guess you could, but like in paper, I don't know. Like I thought about buying it in paper for myself, but then it's kind of like, it doesn't really win that much, and it's not the most interactive, so it does get a little bit dull after a while, but it was a fun experience. But anyway, that's all for now. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, you can let me know in the comments what other decks you want me to see, because in the last video, a lot of people were asking for Slivers, so what did we make next? We made Slivers. So let me know what other decks you want to see, and as always, I hope you have a great day.